Hey everyone, Kaihatsu here, back with another quickfire Culture Bits episode because Pokemon just likes to dole out new information these days without warning, leaving me with no time to actually prepare or do research. Okay, there was that whole glitch thing beforehand, but whatever, I have a life to live, I don't have time for this. And because of all you wonderful people who follow me on Twitter and voted in a poll, you get to see me talk about Pokemon instead of Mario again. Here we are. So, Farfetch'd has a new Galar evolution known as Sirfetch'd, and let me say, this design is perfect. Where do we start? Well, firstly, Sirfetch'd obviously has its base in the Knights of the United Kingdom. Now, I'm sure you know what a knight is, so I won't waste your time with that, but during the medieval period and onwards, they were considered to be a form of nobility and so were addressed as Sir. And today, they're still around in the UK in the form of knighthoods, which are handed out to people and are known as orders. And yes, some have very fancy titles like the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, or an example of one exclusive to where I live, the Most Ancient and Most Noble Order of the Thistle. For most orders, you are entitled to using either Sir, if you're a man, or Lady, if you're a woman, before your name, a well-known example of course being Sir Paul McCartney. But in cases of OBEs, Orders of the British Empire, if you're a woman, instead of being called Lady, you can use Dame before your first name. For example, like Dame Judi Dench.
You can't do this to me, I'm Dame Judi Dench, I'm the national treasure.
Sirfetch'd's status as a knight is also hinted through the official Pokemon website, where it is described as a knight committed to fighting fair and square, which comes from the Knight Code of Chivalry, a somewhat loose social code which detailed what rules knights had to follow as well as the way they should behave. In a way, it is loosely analogous to the Japanese Bushido or Way of the Warrior.
For this is the way of the warrior.
Sirfetch'd would likely have received the most noble order of the Garter, not only because it's the oldest order, having been established on April the 23rd, 1348 by King Edward III, but also because it is exclusive to England and Wales, which is important for this Pokemon in particular. Sirfetch'd, much to my surprise as well when I saw the reveal, is linked to Wales. So, what about the Welsh? Exactly, what about them? Well, Sirfetch'd has one of the most important parts of his design based in Wales, the leek lance. Wales, being the strange little forgotten country it is, has a national vegetable, which is the leek. And in fact, their other national symbol, the daffodil in Welsh, is called Cenhynnin Bedr, St. Peter's leek. But why a leek, of all things? Well, according to legend, the patron saint of Wales, Saint David, ordered his Welsh soldiers to identify themselves by wearing a leek on their helmets in an ancient battle against the Saxons that took place in a leek field. The origin is also dramatized in Shakespeare's Henry V when the Welsh captain Fluellen remarked that the Welsh soldiers fought a battle in a garden where leeks did grow for England in the time of Edward III. However, there is another way that the Welsh are connected to all of this. Sirfetch'd's name in Japanese is Negiga Naito. Naito is obviously knight, but negi means spring onion, specifically the Allium fistulosum, also known as a Welsh onion. This actually has nothing to do with Wales the country though. It comes from an old meaning of the word Welsh, which was originally used to mean something foreign. Also, when reading the name in Japanese, it's possible to read it all together as Negiga Naito, got to have a leek or must have a leek, which may be a reference to how once the leek lance breaks, Sirfetch'd retires from battle. But the main inspiration is likely from the Japanese phrase, Kamo ga negi o shotte kuru, which literally translates to, a duck that came carrying green onions, though a more appropriate translation is, a naive person easy to deceive. As a saying, essentially it means something surprising but convenient. Farfetch'd also gets its name from this saying, which is evident when you compare the saying to its name in Japanese, Kamo negi. But that's not the end of Sirfetch'd's interesting origins. It's mentioned on the official Pokemon website that there is a famous painting in the Galar region that depicts a duel between a Sirfetch'd and an Escavalier, and this is interesting for so many different reasons. Firstly, it likely alludes to jousting not only because of Sirfetch'd's leek lance, but also because of the lances that Escavalier has along with its knight-like appearance. And despite first showing up in Unova, Escavalier is more like a Colossian Pokemon in that its origins stem from France, with its name being a combination of Escargot, French for snail, and Cavalier, or Cavalier, French for mounted soldier, or Chevalier, French for knight. This is also mirrored in the Japanese name for Escavalier, Chivargo, which is a combination of Chevalier and Escargot. Coincidence? No. Interesting? Yes. Hotel? Chivargo. I'm sorry. Anyways, this famous painting highlights the likely close relationship between Galar, Unova, and Kalos, with a special focus on Kalos and Galar in particular, as real-life Britain and France have a lot of shared history, with a lot of that being fighting. There's nothing that the two love more than to hate each other, and though I don't recommend books often in videos, on this occasion I'd like to say that if you want to learn more, a very good book to read is 1,000 Years of Annoying the French by Stephen Clark, which goes over the multitude of occasions where the two have fought. This mentality is so ingrained ingrained in both sides across the channel that people still bring it up today. In a joking way, of course. Je t'aime, France. Tu es cette belle histoire d'amour que je ne cesserai jamais de lire. Moving on, the other weird but cool thing about these two Pokemon liking to duel is that in medieval art all across Europe, knights were frequently depicted fighting snails. This came into prominence around the 13th century, and up until recently it was never really noticed, so no one kept a record of why artists did it. Some people think that it was to symbolize the slow passage of time or the inevitability of death, but it's also theorized that it was meant to satirize the Lombards, a group of people from southern Europe who were defeated by Charlemagne and were then depicted as malicious and cowardly like a snail to be disparaging on purpose. Again, for the sake of time, if you want to find out a bit more about this, seeing as it's an interesting but complicated and convoluted topic, there is a link in the description to a video which tries to explain and theorize about the whole snail thing in a simple, succinct manner. And the last reference between these two is likely to jousting, which is a sport which was very popular in the Middle Ages, and featured two horsemen wielding lances with blunted tips, with the goal being to rush at the opposite person at high speed on horseback, breaking the lance on the opponent's shield, or even break their jousting armor if possible, or even throwing them off their horse. This sport was most popular in England and Wales, along with France, but gradually fell out of interest due to, among other things, the death of several important figures, such as King Henry II of France in 1559. And jousting in particular is in fact the inspiration for Sirfetch'd's signature move, Meteor Assault. Just read its description, it's pretty much based on the way you start a joust. So, there we have it. Sirfetch'd is one strange Welsh leek bird with a basis in chivalry, knighthood, jousting, Japanese puns, and 1,000 years of annoying the French. And I gotta say, for all of that, I absolutely love its design. And if nothing else, it just looks like a good one anyways. And judging by the response from the internet, everyone else loves it too, with it making some people even do a complete 180 on their stance on the new games. So, what do you think? Do you like Sirfetch'd or not? Click the I in the top right to vote in the poll, like the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and press the bell for more Pokemon culture bits. See you next time. Dabochi! Hotel? Chivalry. I'm sorry.